All right, welcome back to another edition of Hey Fightin' Podcast. As always, Cody Worsham, digital media reporter for LSU Athletics, joined today by Coach Blake Baker, LSU Linebackers coach. Welcome to the show. Good to have you on. How has been getting settled back in Louisiana? I know your family, you played here, your family's from here, so the last couple months, taking the job, getting settled, how's that process been?
It's been a lot of fun. It's been, LSU's done a phenomenal job. It's been seamless as far as the just the overall move. Really never been taken care of like that in my career before. So special shout out to LSU and the administration here. And, just with so many family and friends here, it keeps us busy. Usually when you're thousands of miles away from family, you get kind of settled in quicker because you don't have so many
people aren't bothering you. That's what you're trying to say.
No, it's not bothering. It's good to see everybody again. But,
sure.
It feels like every weekend there's somebody that we haven't seen in a while to go see or a birthday party or something. So it's been a lot of fun. I know my wife, she is absolutely in heaven.
Okay, so that's where I was going to start because as you said in your press conference, your introductory press conference, happy wife, happy life. Your wife played soccer here, all SEC soccer player here, and she's from Mandeville, correct?
Correct.
So her reaction the second you told her, hey, I'm going to coach linebackers at LSU was?
Well, you usually have to ask the question. What do you It's never so much, hey, I'm going to. It's, hey, what do you think?
Yes.
And really, I didn't have a choice after that. And this is where we wanted to be. But once I told her this was an opportunity, on the table for us, it was a no-brainer. She was overwhelmed.
So we started off with a mortgage read. I'm not going to ask you specifically where you're living, but have y'all spent time in the North Shore? Or are y'all settling in Baton Rouge? What's kind of been y'all's dance there?
Yeah, we're down off Nicholson here in Baton Rouge. So spent a couple weekends in Mandeville, but a lot of times her mom likes to come up here and be around the kids. So majority of our time has been here in Baton Rouge. Okay,
we'll get to football in a second, but everyone during COVID had their I guess you would call it a COVID purchase or like a stir crazy thing that we did. We bought a pop-up camper in the Worsham house. Again, my wife driving the decision making there. We've been camping in Mandeville like crazy. I mean, we've been out at Fountain Blue State Park.
Oh, that's
probably
where Rosalind grew up.
Okay.
Her dad was a park ranger there.
Oh,
so
really?
She was actually, they lived right off of like 100 yards from Lake Pontchartrain.
Wow. Okay, so now I've got an inside scoop.
We got married there, as a matter of fact.
Oh, wow. Where at?
Where those the oak alleys.
Yeah, those big oaks right there.
It's
beautiful right there. That's awesome. Yeah, well, we've been spending a lot of time out there, and I was going to ask you if there were like any secret spots that we should check out like around town, not to give free advertising here, but we love McLean's Pizzeria. We've been hitting up McLean's for very, very good pizza. And then it was called Bop's. I think it's called Moo Moo's now.
Oh, yeah, Bop's.
Place.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's put on a couple of the dad pounds. I've had been fighting off a little bit. Any other spots I should know about in the area?
Mandeville Seafood has really good crawfish. Anywhere really on the lakefront.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of beautiful restaurants and just good scenery, obviously. So any of those, and that's really all I can think of off the top of my head.
Yeah, last time we were there, my wife was like, hey, why don't we move here? I was like, well, because I work at LSU. That's the primary reason why we can't move here, but maybe later. We'll just keep camping. All right, let's get to football. We do have a couple questions. I'll get to those in a second from our viewers here. Thank you for asking questions. By the way, if you're watching, you weren't here earlier, you can ask questions in the chat or in the Q&A feature. Before we get to those, though, you come in, you take over a position group. It's going to be an interesting mix of guys who were here last year, guys who are kind of coming in. But just based on what you saw this spring in the spring game, what's kind of your overall assessment of that room right now?
I think, overall, I think we came a long way in a short period of time. I think, like you just alluded to, a good mixture of veterans, not necessarily veterans that have played a ton of ball, but, a guy like Jared Small had an outstanding spring.
Played great.
Bug. Strong has played a lot of football, but obviously this was his first spring here. Yep. And then Damone Clark, I thought, had an outstanding spring. But then you mix that in with Josh White and Antoine Sampa, some younger guys that really are going through their first spring. I think we have a really good mixture of youth and veteran leadership. And then, we obviously have a couple new guys coming in this fall as well. So it's going to be a lot of competition. I'm excited to watch it unfold.
First question here from anonymous attendee who's been a popular question asker today. I wonder if it's the same person or if it's a bunch of different anonymous people. Asked, the linebacker group struggled some last year. What's the most important change you've implemented to help this position group? Thanks. I mean, I would add on to that the whole defense is, as a unit, while it had some high moments, certainly a lot of room to improve defensively. So when you specifically look at the linebackers, what are kind of the starting points for building back up that confidence and getting those guys to play the way that they can and that we know they can?
Yeah, I think you just hit the nail on the head. Confidence. My biggest coaching point to him early on was don't be afraid to make a mistake. I'm not a guy that's going to pull you out, the second you make a mistake and yell and scream at you. I know I hated that as a player, so I've tried to implement that into my coaching style. And it's funny, throughout all the exit interviews a couple weeks ago, a lot of the guys told me how much that had helped them. Just the freedom to relax and play and trust their keys and not be, worried about getting yelled at or yanked out right away, I think has really helped them. So that's probably been the biggest thing from a psychological standpoint. And then just trying to simplify the game. Where are they supposed to line? Where are your eyes supposed to be? All those guys have talent. That's going to take care of itself. But if you know where to line up and you know where your eyes are supposed to be, you got a chance to be pretty good.
All right, another question here from anonymous attendee. What attacking strategy do you entail regarding run and pass game?
Like I just said, as far as I think when you know what to look at and you're playing freely, you can attack and play more loose. One of the things that's different, I would say, in our style of defense, maybe in years past, is we want to be an attacking one gap defense and get downhill and make tackles for loss. So that's kind of been a learning curve. For some of the linebackers, especially some of the guys that have been around here, because it's been more of a read and react type deal from the second level. So, that's been one of the point of emphasis. When they see it, trust what they see and hit it.
Another question here in the chat, Ruark Hotop. Sorry if I got that name wrong. I know I said it earlier and I probably got it wrong again. Apologies. How has the adjustment been to working with the coaches at LSU, specifically with Coach Jones, compared to some of the other coaches you've worked with? How would you compare the aggressiveness between other defenses you've been a part of and what you anticipate us to have this fall at LSU?
The adjustment's been easy. I mean, I really love our entire staff, and specifically, spending most of the time with the defensive staff. Coach Jones has been awesome to work with. He's very he's very good with people. He understands how to lead a room of men and young men, and I think he's doing a phenomenal job. As far as the aggressiveness between other defenses, I would say we're a pretty aggressive defense. Like I said, we want to be one gap and attacking and getting downhill. And really so far what we've put in, I know, is not our complete package of defense. So it's been, like I said, that's been one of kind of the adjustments, is getting downhill and getting in a hurry. So I would say we're pretty aggressive.
Going back to the spring game, what were some of the things that stood out to you about your position group in particular and the guys that played well, and maybe some of the things you want to work on going into the fall?
I think the biggest thing that stood out to me is and we were vanilla, but their understanding of what we're trying to get done on defense. Antoine Sampa and Jared Small both having interceptions, but I do think we have a long way to go as far as overall pass coverage. And I think that will come. I think our offense presents a lot of good challenges for us, which will make us better heading into the fall. But in the run game, I thought we were pretty solid all spring. Just need to improve in our pass defense.
This is something I was talking about with Jacob Hester, who used to play here on radio the other day, and we were getting ready for the NFL draft, and we were talking about Jabril Cox and how he sort of fits this modern linebacker that can run and hit and do everything. And you're a guy that's played the college game and played the position, coached the position. How much has the linebacker changed, and how much is the skill set required to be a dominant player there changed, going back to when you played in college to where you are now?
I think the biggest thing is space. Back even when I played, it was the teams were starting to spread out a little bit, but it was still, if you could get tackle to tackle and, more of a thumper type linebacker, where now you're looking for a guy that can really do it all, a guy that's good in space, a guy that can play between the tackles, a guy that's strong enough to take on offensive linemen, quick enough to, potentially definitely cover tight ends, potentially end up on slot receivers. So the skill set that's asked of these guys now is quite different from when I played. I really do think you have to have it all when you talk about length, speed, strength, the complete package. And those guys, it's hard to find out of high school because a lot of times you're projecting. A lot of those guys play defensive end, in high school. So that's one of the challenges about recruiting the position. And it's still a very instinctual position. That part of the game has not changed. You still have to be able to diagnose plays and see what's happening very, very quickly. So that part is still the same.
If you would, just kind of, you mentioned all the names when looking back at the spring earlier, but what makes those guys different, unique? What's their particular skill set that each of those guys brings to your room?
They're all different, and that's a very good question. I think Damone is kind of the guy I just described. When you talk about a guy that's long, can run, he's physical. He the thing that's very impressive about Damone is his ability to lead off the field. Very, very smart football player. He has some of the intangibles on top of the intangibles, or the tangibles that we just talked about. Bug, he's instinctive. He reminds me kind of me when I played. He's not going to look the best in a jersey. He's not going to be the biggest. He's not going to be the fastest. And he's not going to be the strongest. But he just has an instinct. He always seems to find his way around the ball. And he brings some pop with him as well. Jared Small, really, really smart football player. Very instinctive. Very athletic. A little bit undersized, but it's one of those deals where I don't think it affects him at that linebacker position. He just has a knack of seeing the game very, very quickly. Antoine Sampa, he's a young guy. He's still putting it all together. Very fluid, very limber. He's got a lot of flexibility. He's got to get stronger, but the game for him is still going very, very fast, but that's just because he's young. He's going to be a really good football player for us. And then Josh White. Josh White is probably, in a straight line, he's probably our fastest guy, and it might be our biggest hitter. I mean, he is not afraid of contact. So all those guys have different skill sets and bring something different to the table, and that's kind of what you want out of a room. I don't think you want the same exact guy in there that can't necessarily play off of each other.
There's one here in the chat from Angel St. Germain. What is the thing you've enjoyed most about the transition to LSU in Louisiana? What has been the biggest challenge thus far?
Like I said, just this staff overall has been really fun. I think the players that I get to coach, it's been very fun. I mean, they're blue collar. They're just always wanting more, as far as football and them handling their business off the field. It's been very, very fun. And then I guess one of the things has probably been a blessing and a curse is the food.
Yep.
It's been good to be around a bunch of good food, and like I said, my mother-in-law living an hour away, and she likes to cook, so that's a good thing.
What are mother-in-law's favorite dishes?
Her red beans are hard to beat. That's probably my favorite thing. That, or she makes a mean fried fish.
Yeah, I was about to say, with the red beans, you can go red beans, no rice. The old Cocho gumbo, no rice thing. The fried fish, you can't really do much about. You just gotta. Yeah, you gotta suck it up. you just gotta shovel it down and get going. One question I wanted to ask you, and I was kind of thinking about it as I walked past that room right there. But y'all have that walkthrough room right there, and I don't know how many other schools have something like that. I think it's a pretty unique thing to this facility. I'm curious, how much have you played with that room? How much do you want to utilize that room? How beneficial is that room?
It's big time. We use it quite a bit. I would say during spring ball, at least a couple times a week, especially at linebacker.
Yeah.
Being able to. I mean, it's really a walkthrough without having to use 11 players to walk through. It's really like cheating to me.
Yeah.
But it's been instrumental as far as having our guys understand concepts a lot. Pre-snap motions, making the calls in a quiet room. Now there's you're not on the sideline as a coach. You're able to hear them. Make the checks and make sure that they know it and say it with confidence. And as a defense, we've used it quite a bit. But that's something that, I've heard about before I got here. And not necessarily LSU having. I heard the New England Patriots had one. And I never really heard any other colleges having it. But it's big time. I mean, I love it.
What's the learning curve for a room like that? Like, I know you got so for those who haven't been in there, basically it's a big open space. You've got a wall. I think there's a projector that hooks up to a computer. You can kind of pull up a virtual offense on the screen, and then inside the room you can literally line up. I mean, I was just looking at it right now. The gaps are actually marked on the floor. I don't know if that's always there, but you can kind of basically have a virtual offense in front of your face and then line up accordingly. What's the learning curve there? As
far as using the computer?
Yeah.
You'd have to ask Alec Osborne.
That's the learning curve. Give it to the GA.
Give it to the GA, and he does a phenomenal job. He can zoom in and have it pretty much to scale as we're looking to it. And, if we want to see a wider angle, he does it in a button or two, but I do not know
You don't have
answer.
to worry about that. This one's not a question. This one's in the chat from Tyron Picard. Glad to have you here, Coach. Have tracked your career for some time, and I know brains run in the family. Sophia worked for me when she was in college in Lafayette.
That's my cousin.
Okay.
She's a sweetheart. She's actually, I think, trying to come to law school here at LSU.
Awesome. Okay, so she does have the brains.
Yeah, she took all of them. She's from Mandeville.
Okay, great,
Yep.
great. We're just bringing in all the Mandeville people. Anonymous attendee, what statistical goals do the linebackers want to accomplish this year? Are you a numbers guy? Do you set numbers for those guys?
Not necessarily tackles, because that's such a such a subjective stat. The biggest thing for me is to do your job. And I know that sounds coaching cliche, but if ever all 11 guys on the field do their job at the same time, you're going to be pretty good on defense, regardless of your talent level, regardless of if you do what you're supposed to do. Obviously, there's weaknesses in every defenses, and offensive guys are on scholarship, and we play against good coaches as well. So I know plays are going to be made, but plays are going to come to you. I always say we're building a wall. The offense gets to pick who makes the tackle. And like I said, we're a bully style defense where we want to get downhill and create havoc, but we also want to be very sound in doing it. And I let those guys, it's something that I actually talk to them about before the year. I want them to write down their goals. I think they should have goals, but as far as a specific number, I go back to my days at Miami where Greg Rousseau, who didn't play this year, was first-round draft pick, had 15.5 sacks as a redshirt freshman, and everyone said, can he do it again? Who knows? Statistics can come and go, but playing clean football and being fundamentally sound, those are the things that, to me, you look for as a coach. The numbers will take care of themselves.
Yeah, as they say, the eye in the sky doesn't lie.
Right.
I'm curious, when you come into a new job, and this will apply going forward too, but you inherit personnel that you haven't worked with before. How much past film are you watching to familiarize yourself? And that would apply to a guy like Mike Jones, who's going to come in here and hadn't been here at LSU during the spring, but now he's going to be a part of the team in the fall. So how much of that kind of film are you watching? Like what's the balance of the tape that you're watching right now?
Mike Jones obviously was different because I recruited him. So I was kind of watching him at Clemson to see how he would be a fit for us. So that's a little bit different than the guys that were inherited. I watched very little. I did not want to have a preconceived opinion, and really, I didn't want to hear about them from people that had been in this building. Yeah. I kind of believe in starting fresh and a new defense, a new style of coach, whatever the case may be. Some guys that aren't very good in years past can turn out to be really, really good players. Yep. So very, very little. I watched a little bit of point of attack, maybe 10 clips on every single guy that was returning, just to kind of get a feel of maybe some athletic ability, but not knowing anything about the last year's defense as far as schematically. It's hard to base my opinion on how well they were playing or not. So.
Yeah. Similarly, do you watch film of opposing offenses that you're going to get ready to play this year? I know that y'all have analysts that do a ton of that labor for you and kind of package it in a way, but I would imagine that most of what you're watching right now is probably high school kids and trying to familiarize yourself with that aspect of it. But is there any prep already for the offenses that you might see in the fall?
Yeah, we started on UCLA this week. It's one of those deals where it's been very beneficial, especially as a new staff, kind of bouncing ideas off each other. Maybe what we call certain things, so we're all speaking the same language. So it's kind of been a twofold process. One, learning, studying UCLA, but also learning each other, how we're going to game plan. It's been really beneficial this week for us.
Can you give us an insight to the tone of the locker room right now? Because 2 years ago you come off a 15-0 season, a national championship season. Season goes long. Everyone's telling everyone how great they are here at LSU. You guys are the best. And then last year, you get punched in the mouth and go 5-5. And it was a difficult schedule and difficult circumstances, but it's just not what any of those guys in that locker room would want or are used to. Right. What's been the tone of those guys as they transition from that year to this year? Do you sense a hunger? Do you sense some of that, a chip on their shoulder? What have they been like as they're trying to transition from that year to this year?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what I see is very humble, very hungry, a very hardworking, very blue-collar group, a very together group. like I said, I wasn't around here last year, but you don't get the sense that they were 5-5 just from not the amount of cockiness or anything. Their togetherness. I mean, this team is together as a team as I've seen, you know, in a long, long time. And they love hanging out with each other off the field. You see them up here getting extra work together all the time. But very humble, very hungry, but very, very together as well.
So I'll get you out on this. Before you came in here, Coach Carter was in here, and he planted a question. He said that you guys work out together at the same time. And he wanted to ask,
at the same time, not together.
Well, he wanted me to ask a comparison of, maybe physique and numbers. And look, I think that's a very unfair question, but he's the one that made me ask it. Now, if he asked me to do something, I'm going to say yes, because physically I think he would have no problems disposing of me.
He's got genetics on his side. Let's put it that way. I wasn't built to have 80 sacks in the NFL, no matter how hard I work. So no, he's a machine.
Yeah.
I mean, I told him the other day, I've never seen, except for like on the CrossFit games, you see the dudes doing pull-ups like up to their chest.
Yeah.
I'm like pushing my chin up there. This dude's like repping up pull-ups to his chest. So he's a freak of nature. There's a reason he went, what was it, 7th overall in the draft.
He's got the genes.
Those guys don't grow on trees.
Is he said he's a bodyweight guy. Is he a bodyweight guy?
He does all kinds of weird stuff. I'll be honest with you. But like I said, I probably couldn't do half of it. But yeah, he's, you see that really too with a bunch of, in my opinion, like Coach Falk is very similar.
Yeah.
Guys that played a long time in the NFL don't want, they've lifted weights for so long in their career. They're it wears and tears on them talking to them. So the bodyweight stuff, like I said, genetics help too. Man.
Yeah. Well, what's your approach in there? Are you like me and you're just fighting off the South Louisiana food? And
that's it. I work out so I can eat and have a good time.
There you go. Are we doing we're going heavy weights? Are we doing lighter weights?
I just mix it up. Right now I'm on a little kind of a HIIT workout plan, but about to kind of getting bored with that.
Yeah.
So it just depends. If I go in there with a plan, I'm good. The worst thing I can do is go in there without a plan, and then I just kind of mess around and don't get anything accomplished. So if I got something on a piece of paper that, is a quote-unquote workout, I'll be all right.
There you go. Yeah, I'm just in there. Give me an hour, and let me just take my time, because I did a couple years of college basketball, and it was all, like when you said HIIT, I had like traumatic flashbacks to like sprinting and getting out of breath.
It's not. When I say HIIT, it's just like, it's working out without a break in between the next thing. It's not like burpees and all that.
Gotcha. I'm doing the opposite. I'm taking as long of a break between everything.
I'm gonna get there. I think next week I'm gonna start that.
Yeah, we're just in there to
you got to shock the body, man.
Maybe that's my wife's approach. My approach is just to take my time in there. All right, I think that's it. I don't see more questions from in the chat. So, Coach, appreciate your time. Great sitting down with you, and good luck in the fall.
Thank you.